So in my last video in the comments, a few folks asked me about mods that I've been using, and while I'm still experimenting with some of them before I give sort of a comprehensive list, here are a few that I wanted to cover that are in that category of you use them once and you're like, yep, this is just Mass Effect 2 for me going forward. And so the first couple that I'm going to cover are armor-based mods that there's 3 of them, but I'm going to count them sort of as one mod because, in my opinion, they just belong together. And then I'll cover one that modifies something meaningful with Jack, Subject 0, that I really recommend. So the first one is EGM armors for LE2, LE3. So this mod just adds a whole bunch of new armors, both from DLC, adding some of them from Mass Effect 3 to 2, and from Andromeda, from other places, as selectable armors for Shepard, particularly in Mass Effect 2. This adds welcome variety to what you can make Shepard wear and the bonuses that you can pick from. I've even got armor mods that add the original Onyx armors from the first game if you want to keep Shepard's look kind of iconic and have some continuity there. So definitely recommend it. But when I first tried this mod, one thing I didn't like about it was some of the new armors come with a helmet that goes with the suit, but it's always on. And so if you're a person who's like, I prefer to play helmet off, or I want to have some choices over headwear like the visor or stuff like that, well, you couldn't do it. And there were certain armors that I'm like, this armor is awesome, but I just really don't like the helmet. Well, you can fix that with another mod called Expanded Shepard Armory for LE2. And what that one does, among other things, is changes the way that the armor select screen works to give more variety. And one of the side effects of that is all these new armors that are added, it gives a helmet on or off variant of it, which kind of solves that problem. Definitely recommend that. And then alongside that, there's one called Invisible Vanilla Armor for LE2, which, as the name implies, basically makes a duplicate of all of the vanilla like shoulder plates, arm plates, leg plates, etc. that Shepard can get. So there's the original version in the slider where you're picking all your stuff, and then there's a duplicate version of it that's invisible. And so if you pick the invisible version, you'll get the stat boosts of wearing that, say, shoulder gear, but it won't show on Shepard, which is perfect for wearing some of these custom armors because then you don't have stuff clipping through and looking weird. Again, adding even more variety to your build, which is great. You can pick the stat boost that you really want, but have the look just dialed in that you really want for your Shepard. And this gives you a variety that can range from having this fully decked out, gigantic, awesome looking, plow through walls looking armors, to, if you're a female Shepard, you can make her wear some of the cat suits that are similar to Miranda or what Edie wears in 3. All kinds of options. So definitely recommend those. Great way if you've played this game a bunch of times and you're looking for a way to make this next playthrough feel a little different. I found that having the extra armors and clothing just really good way to spice that up. And some of these mods also add different casual clothes for Shepard as well, which is great. Once again, making it so that some of the Mass Effect 3 options appear in the second game, and some of them are just totally new. You can get some of the Mass Effect Andromeda armors and clothes into this game if you want those. So really recommend that. It was great. And now the mod that I really want to talk about is one for Jack. So basically, in a nutshell, what this mod does is changes Jack's pull ability to Singularity. I think this is great because every time I've played this game in the past, I always felt like there was a bit of a disconnect with the way Jack is characterized and then practical usage of Jack. She's described as this super all-powerful biotic, one of the strongest biotics in the galaxy because of the experiments that they did to her, and indeed, by endgame, is one of only 2 characters that can successfully pull off the biotic force field on the end mission. Should somebody this powerful basically have the same skills as everybody else? Jack has Shockwave, which is useful but very conditional, and I prefer it on Shepard, not on a squad mate, and Pull. Pull can also be useful, but Jacob has it, and I believe Samara has it. Like, you already have other squad mates that give you Pull. Plus, Jack has very little health and very little armor and uses shotguns, which pairs really poorly with having very little health and armor. There's nothing about Jack's skills, in my opinion, in the game that really make her worth bringing most of the time. With this mod, you have Singularity, which, unless you're playing an Adept, you're never even going to see Singularity in this game normally, except for briefly with Liara in the Shadow Broker DLC. And now with Jack having it, this is actually, when in my playthrough, like a real reason to bring Jack, where you're like, yeah, this one mission has a lot of clumped up enemies, or I'm going to need a lot of crowd control. You would pick Jack on purpose just for the ability to spawn singularities all over the place. And even though they didn't give you as many options in the second game with biotic detonation combinations like they did in 3, pairing them still is really powerful. For instance, I was playing a Vanguard, and when Jack would throw down a singularity, if I used Shockwave, since the enemies were already floating, that would blow them a considerable distance. Sometimes off the map, sometimes really take a chunk out of them, or of course you could use a biotic charge at a floating enemy for a pretty devastating effect. Very helpful to have that up there. Suddenly Jack is a really valuable squad mate that, in my opinion, as one of the most powerful biotics in the galaxy, has a skill she arguably always should have had. Definitely recommend that one. And like I said in the beginning, that mod in particular was one that I tried it, I tested it, I went on a mission or two with Jack, and I'm like, yes, that's just canon for me, part of Mass Effect 2 now. Every playthrough I do will have this mod. So that's all I have for the moment for must-have mods that I've played that I would really recommend. If you have ones that you would recommend to people that you've had a great experience with, drop them in the comments below, and otherwise I will be back with you guys on some new content for Mass Effect soon. I am working on another video essay to follow up the one that I did just before this one, so look out for that one. And otherwise, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you'll join me for the next one.